Hello, boys. What are you doing?
Oh, we're doing our homework.
I know that's not true. You wouldn't look so guilty unless you were lying. You were playing video games, weren't you?
My mum's an expert in recognising the signs when somebody's lying. It's her job. She works for the police.
Yes, so remember that.
Oh, that sounds really interesting. Suppose you suspected someone of lying. What signs would you look out for?
Oh, there are lots of things. For instance, a liar tells a story in a different way. Imagine an honest person was telling a story. They wouldn't relate events in the correct order. They'd probably tell the story in a mixed-up order, going back to add details they forgot to mention. Also, provided the story was a true one, the honest person would show emotion at the end of it. A liar tends to tell the story in the order they've practiced it, and they'll end a story without showing emotion.
Supposing you asked them to tell the story backwards, would the liar be able to do that?
No, it's an excellent way to catch a liar out.
What other signs are there?
If someone is lying, they often have a slight smile. Why? Well, imagine you were telling a lie and getting away with it. You'd feel pretty pleased with yourself and smile. They also tend to touch their faces a lot, particularly the nose. Were they telling the truth, they wouldn't need to hide their face. Hi, Mum. Hi, Simon and Ben. Where have you been?
Oh, I was just at the library.
Hello again. In today's lesson, we'll be looking at conditional clauses. When people think of conditionals, most people think of the word if. But there are alternatives to if, and that's what we're going to look at here. Unless is often used as an alternative to if not, when the sense is except if.
You wouldn't look so guilty unless you were lying.
You wouldn't look so guilty unless you were lying. In this example from the conversation, the fact is that the boys look very guilty because they are lying. So the mum explains this using a conditional sentence with unless. You can use suppose, supposing, or imagine to create conditions too. They nearly always come at the beginning of a sentence, where they set up a condition to then ask a question. Suppose you suspected someone of lying. What signs would you look out for? Supposing you asked them to tell the story backwards, would the liar be able to do that? Imagine you were telling a lie and getting away with it. You'd feel pretty pleased with yourself. Providing, or as long as, also set up conditions. Provided the story was a true one, the honest person would show emotion at the end of it. And finally, it's possible to avoid using if by inverting the subject and the verb. That means putting an auxiliary such as were, had, or should before the subject. This way of creating conditionals is quite formal and not very common. Were they telling the truth, they wouldn't need to hide their face. Had I realized how important it was, I'd have come. Should you change your mind, give me a call. So, it's important to remember that using if isn't the only way of creating conditions. There are several alternatives. That's all for today. Thank you and see you again soon.